at it. Vasiljevic. Wow. Doesn't take much to get him going.
No, it does not.
That man has ice
In his veins.
in everything. And one.
Right on cue.
Magnificent.
That'll get him going.
Vasiljevic gets a good look and he makes them pay.
How much class has this kid got? You gotta love it.
DJ Vasiljevic and the Sydney Kings, 2 championships, endless big moments, and perhaps now a little bit of spice. Welcome to The Jump, presented by Hungry Jack's. The burgers are better at Hungry Jack's. Kane Pittman in the usual chair. The legend Andrew Gazey about to join me, and I cannot wait to hear his thoughts from a chat with Paddy Mills. Are the Boomers going to be ready for Paris, and will it be an Olympic swan song for Paddy? But first, tonight's opening tip. Adelaide shocked the NBL with a win over Melbourne on the weekend. As for the Sydney Kings, the slide continued with back-to-back champs now dropping 7 of their last 10 games. If the split between Vasiljevic and the Kings was as messy as reports suggest, the timing for a first meeting and possible revenge game, it's absolutely perfect. Everyone's going to talk about this. You playing against the Sydney Kings, any extra juice at all? It has to be human nature that this game feels like it might mean something more to you.
You know, a lot of people said I had this circled on my calendar. I've heard the NBL try to pipe it up. It's just another game. I got a lot of respect for the guys, and obviously they didn't want me, so that kind of gives me a bit of energy to come out and play hard. But again, it's another game where we can prove, you know, keep pushing forward as the 36ers, and again, in front of a sellout crowd, there's no better way to do it. So I kind of look forward to the game.
So you've already mentioned some of the relationships you have with the players on the Sydney Kings. So who do you expect to see? Whether it's Brucey might be out there, we know. Angus Glover, he doesn't mind getting into some sort of verbal confrontations with players. Maybe it's young Alex Tui. What are you expecting defensively from the Kings?
I expect Sean Bruce to start on me and be a pesky guy he is. And I'm going to take the challenge. Obviously, Glove's going to come in there full of energy. And I think me and J.A. will be laughing most of the game just because we have that relationship. But it's going to be competitive. You know, they play a switching type of defense. So I think Jordan Hunter will guard me at times, Jonah Bolden, obviously Tui and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting. It'll be a good game for the NBL. And, yeah, I look forward to it.
Well, you mentioned the fact that maybe it's us that are pumping up your meeting with the Sydney Kings a little more than you are, but we're all really excited for you. You've been playing some great basketball. It's been good to see you back in the NBL and great to catch up.
I appreciate you having me. Thanks, man.
We are taking you all the way to tip off between the 36ers and the Sydney Kings. Andrew Gazey is here. And Gazey, he said that he's not making this a big deal. He also did say that the Sydney Kings didn't want him. What kind of spice are you expecting from this game tonight?
Well, I think there's always context around those types of departures. I doubt very much it's the fact that the Sydney Kings didn't want DJ Vasiljevic. I think every team in the competition would want a high-quality player like him. It's just that the circumstances, him wanting to go over and try out in the NBA and give that his best shot to play at that level, and then the timing when you've already put your roster together, coming back, and when you do become available, all those things come into the equation. But I like the spice that's there. Yes. DJ's never going to back away from a big-time situation. He's playing some great basketball, had 30 points in the game against Melbourne United, came out of the blocks super strong, 17 of those 30 coming in the first half. And he played with some really good composure. Sometimes when DJ gets in these types of grooves, it's a lot of fun. And as you can see from these highlights, he can hit some really, really tough shots. But every now and again, he gets a little ahead of himself and he starts to take some really outrageously difficult shots. And he's finding that balance now of playing with his teammates, because the combination he has right now with him, Isaac Humphries and Trey Curl, they've formed a really nice bond between each other. They're working off each other really well. They're all contributing, and as such, the Adelaide 36ers are playing a whole lot better. So for the last place team to beat the first place team last weekend speaks volumes for what the league is all about and how competitive it is, and what a challenge it is for the Sydney Kings, who they're starting to get into that danger territory now with the way in which the schedule is unfolding for them and the way in which they're playing, 3-7 in their last 10 is not great, and this is going to be an important one for them.
I'm going to set the over and under for field goal attempts for DJ Vasiljevic tonight at about 24.5. I think he's going to go crazy, and he doesn't typically hold back, as you exactly pointed out there. Hey, he's shooting 37% from three on 8 attempts per game. This is a really high volume. So the question I've got, this is the first time we've seen DJ really as a number one option. He was one of many in Sydney over the last few seasons. If you're Adelaide, are you going all out to ensure that you do whatever you can to make him the number one guy next year?
Yeah, it's a tough question to answer. Me personally, I think you've got to settle on your coach. Now, sometimes the timing doesn't always work out because we know he's a high-quality player. You know that most teams in the competition, if not all teams in the competition, would have to love a talent like DJ. But depending on the coach, the coach's philosophy, the style of play, how in which you invest in someone like DJ may vary. Of course, you're going to want him, but the level of investment that you're going to make in him can be determined behind the coach and the style of play that you want to play. So it's a tricky game that the Adelaide 36ers have to play because they need to go out there and secure a coach. It may be Scott Ninnis. They may want to look for other alternatives, and those other alternatives may want to invest what they have available in other areas as well. So to me, I think you've got to wait until you sign the coach. But if you're going to delay that signing, you certainly don't want to lose DJ.
And that's a difficult situation. The 36ers find themselves in plenty of decisions to make in this offseason as we take a look at the NBL standings this season. And for the Sydney Kings, let's just remember they are now tied in the loss column with the New Zealand Breakers in 8th. The Bullets climb all the way into the top 5 with a buzzer beater over Tasmania last night. But what about those Hawkies at 8 and 9 and still a league high 11 games to play this season? Since appointing Justin Tatum as interim head coach on November 14, the Hawks are 6 and 2. And arguably even more impressive has been the defense, Gazey. The best defense in the league since that change at the head coach position. You can question the opposition if you like. They've beaten Perth and Sydney in this run so far, and now they get Tasmania on Friday night. And one of the other NBL stories that we're seeing just start to percolate a little bit is the ladder lead in Melbourne United. They're 15 and 5 on the season, so I wouldn't say that it's panic stations just yet. But they have lost 2 of 3 since tipping off a stretch of 7 consecutive games on the road. And now the injury toll perhaps starting to mount a little bit. Luke Travers missed the last game. Shea Ili out this week with concussion, and Joe Luala-Chul also with personal reasons. They've got a trip to New Zealand coming up. So Melbourne United just a little bit perhaps, Gazey, on watch. I wouldn't be hitting the panic stations just yet. They put themselves in a very comfortable position. Is this just a team that won a whole stack of games to start the season and maybe a mid-season slump, or is this any reason for perhaps a little bit of nerves?
I certainly wouldn't put it in the slump category just yet. Of course, when you've lost 2 out of your last 3, the alarm bells start to ring. But as you mentioned, they've had some key players missing. Early on in the season, they had some key players missing, and they did not miss a beat. And in the games that they've lost, you look at this performance against the Adelaide 36ers, they shot the ball above 50%. They shot the 3 ball in the 40s. It's not like they offensively were poor. It was more down the other end of the floor where Trey Kell, Isaac Humphries, and of course DJ with the 30 were able to get hold of him. That hasn't been the case early on in the season. Their defence was as good as anyone in the competition. So maybe as you get to that mid-season area, teams are jacked up now to play Melbourne United. They know they're the team to beat. They're the measuring stick for the competition. And if they're not on their game defensively, then they're going to have some problems. So certainly not panic stations when you're 15 and 5 and sitting 2 games clear up on top of the ladder. But I still think that they would be more concerned about some of the players that they've had and the injuries that they've had to deal with over the last couple of weeks. That would be more of a priority to them than necessarily having a knee-jerk reaction to some of the losses that they've had.
Yeah, and they have lent on the defence all season, as you pointed to. I mentioned New Zealand this week, then it's Tasmania, Sydney and Brisbane to come. So it's going to be fascinating to see if they can bounce back out of that, perhaps not at full strength. We should show the Illawarra Hawks some love, though, because this was a team that I think rightly, looking at the standings, we wrote off. We're like, well, they can't possibly make it back. I think they've been helped by a bunch of other teams losing games as well. But this has now been a sustained run that this team is playing legit defense, and they look like one of the more organised teams in the league.
No, they've been fantastic, fun to watch. I think we've got to give a lot of credit also to Sam Froling. Sure, since the coaching change, they've had improved performances from Gary Clark. Tyler Harvey looks like a different player over the last couple of weeks, and certainly Justin Robinson has been superb in the way in which that he's been able to bounce back from a slow start. Give the coach a lot of credit. And in fact, if you look at the ladder, now it might change because of some of the recent results, and it might even be a little higher. But if you just took a ladder from the time in which they made the coaching change, Illawarra Hawks would be second on the ladder. So they are playing some high-level basketball, had some big wins along that journey, and the coach has to take a decent chunk of credit for that, for being able to just get the best out of the players. We knew at the start of the season that this team had some talent, and now that's being fulfilled since they've been made that coaching change.
Yeah, and we mentioned decisions for Adelaide, perhaps some for Illawarra now when it comes to Justin Tatum as well. The Hawks are starting to build a postseason case, no question, but let's not lose sight of the Jack Jumpers. The Jackies have lost 5 of 7 games themselves. All 5 of those losses have come by single-digit margins. There could be some nervy fans in Tassie. Tip-off on Friday is at 7:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight. And if you take a look at the schedule and have no idea how you're going to fit in all the NBL chaos of the weekend to come, I'm with you. Life stuff is going to have to wait. But also spare a thought for my mates out the back who each week have to separate the very best from the rest with the top plays of the week, presented by Hungry Jacks.
You just got to try and put that down, don't you? You know you're going to get fouled if you don't dunk it. It's quite annoying. That's how you finish it.
The Kings, when they go back to it, Pete, you've spoken about it, there are buckets available in deep like there were against Cairns.
And another crack at it.
Lamb.
Upstairs to Cheatham! Oh my, there's that verticality. Zyla Cheatham off the pick and roll. You have to be so concerned. Brilliant pass from Lamb, but that is a tough angle.
Front, Marcus Lee. There's Armstrong. Armstrong with the fancy move. Hello. Home, Taron Armstrong. Every kind of move on the menu.
Paris Olympics will be number 5 for both me and Joe, and I think the emotions start coming out when you understand the journey that we had gone through with the Boomers for the course of these Olympics, and how important the Boomers team and the Boomers program has meant to us. So I think we play with a lot of that heart and a lot of that passion and everything that we've been through on and off the court, and we want to empty that out. We want to use that to be able to play with the passion that we have for our country. My emotions of playing for Australia at an Olympic Games is going to remain the same no matter what. But I think the most important thing here is this next generation of young, basketball Australian leaders, Josh Giddey, Dante Exum, Jock Landale, to take the reins of this Boomers culture and take it to new heights. Over the course of the next few Olympics and decades, I think is the most important part of our time here. So, me and Joe have done what we think is the best for our program over the last couple of years, and now it's time to let them take this program as well. So, very, very special time coming up for the 5th Olympics, and definitely going to enjoy it. Definitely going to have fun and compete our backside off. That's for sure.
Welcome back into The Jump, presented by Hungry Jacks. Paddy Mills, always fantastic to listen to him talk about the Boomers, and the Paris Olympics are going to come quickly. We also love talking to Andrew Gaze about the Boomers as well. It was a fascinating World Cup campaign for this team. The transition was in full effect, and Paddy Mills' position changed a little bit, and maybe some of the shots that were there previously weren't anymore. Listening to that, do you think Paddy Mills has anything to prove at this Olympics Games, and what do you think this could mean for what he's done for the country so far?
Oh, he already has just an extraordinary legacy, a legacy that goes beyond just what he does on a basketball floor. He is just an incredible leader when it comes to Indigenous affairs, and he's done it in a way that hasn't been as divisive as others. And I think that he's used his platform and the success that he's had with basketball to help embrace an entire nation. So he has got no issues whatsoever with his legacy, and he has hopefully another opportunity to achieve the ultimate, and that's just not winning a medal, because they've done that now. They did that in Tokyo, and he was integral in that bronze medal they won in Tokyo. But now it's to try and win a gold medal, and that's a huge hurdle to overcome. But we can realistically, and we've been saying this the last couple of Olympics, we can realistically put our hand on a heart, and particularly when what we saw Germany do at the World Cup, to say that we can compete with the best in the world, and it's not just some fanciful statement to say that you can win a gold medal. But for Paddy, I think with both Paddy and Joe, for the first time in their careers though, their role is coming into question, and for some, not me, but for some, even their position on the floor in the team comes into question. Will both Paddy and Joe actually be there together to fulfil that dream? Now, I think they will, but that's with their longevity and how long they've been around. That's a question that's also been asked as well. But he has been an extraordinary leader. I still think we need both him and Joe's perimeter shooting, and how you combine that with that new, fresh, exciting young talent that we've got coming through the ranks is going to be one of the big challenges that Brian Goorjian faces.
Yes, and we saw the graphic just there. If Paddy Mills scores the 300 points to pass you in the all-time Olympic scoring records, it means that Australia's probably won gold, so we'll be very excited about that as well. Paddy Mills, though, he is a Boomers legend. That's truth, but it's not always that simple. Gazey helps me work through what's truth and what's trash when the jump rolls on next.
That's outrageous. What happened tonight, this is completely BS. This is shame. Shame for the referees, shame for the league to allow this. 23 free throws for them, and we get 2 free throws in the fourth quarter. Like, how to play the game. I understand respect for all stars and all that, but we have star players on our team as well. How's possible as Scotty Barnes, who is all-star caliber player in this league, he goes every single time to the rim with force, trying to get to the rim without flopping and not trying to get foul calls. He gets 2 free throws for the whole game. How's that possible? How are you going to explain that to me? They had to win tonight? If that's the case, just let us know so we don't show up for the game. Just give them a win. But that was not fair tonight. And this is not happening first time for us. Scotty Barnes is going to be all-star. He's going to be the face of this league. And what's happening over here during whole season, I've been holding it back. It's a complete crap.
Darko Rajakovic, tell us how you really feel. Welcome back to The Jump, presented by Hungry Jacks. It's time for a little bit of truth or trash. The Lakers outlasted the Raptors 132-131. Head coach not too happy. Scotty Barnes, he says, is going to be the face of the NBA. Andrew Gaze is the face of The Jump. Truth or trash? Sometimes in a press conference, you just got to cut loose, start pounding the table, and go absolutely ballistic.
Well, haven't been in that chair before. Sometimes you use the platform to get a message out there.
Yes.
But of course, there's always a limit. And when you start making accusations, or I should say insinuating, that perhaps that there is some other things going on to determine the outcome of the game, that clearly has to be a no-no. And the other thing that I don't like is the fact that it's almost recognised that stars get different treatments to average players. Yes, Scotty Barnes is a superstar, but it shouldn't matter if it's Scotty Barnes going to the rack or it's Kane Pittman with a full-force hard drive to the rim. A foul is a foul, and it should be irrelevant the status of the individual involved. call the games on their merits, not based on whether someone is a superstar or not. Now, 23-2 in the last quarter, that's an anomaly. Yes. There's no doubt about that. But, I was watching that game, and at the time, I did not realise that it was that lopsided. But I can understand the frustration, but that is not the platform to making those types of accusation against the league and the officials. And I dare say there is going to be some heavy penalties. We might see world record penalties on the basis of that rant. So he certainly got bang for his buck. In what he was able to launch on. Now, Kane,
yes.
The Los Angeles Lakers, since the in-season tournament, they are now 5-10. Before the last two games, they were 3-10. Did the Lakers get ahead of themselves and put too much glory on where they were currently at following the in-season tournament win?
Well, I do think it's trash. It's a beautiful looking banner, of course, we can see here. I don't think they were playing good defense before the in-season tournament. They certainly haven't been playing good defense over the last few weeks since the in-season tournament was on. In fact, they've ranked 19th. Yesterday was the 1-month anniversary. I'm not sure if they're actually celebrating this, the first ever in-season tournament, but we can see the record since they did claim that tournament. And we spoke a lot about teams that were trying extra hard in the in-season tournament, and we thought it was some of the young teams. But another team that went all out was the Lakers, right through group play, and then they got to the elimination game. So they were certainly bringing a different intensity level and a different effort level during that tournament, and they have not been able to replicate that so far, though they did slow down the red-hot LA Clippers. So I think it's trash for now. Maybe the team's just not that good. Trade deadline coming up. We'll see. Coming back to you, truth or trash, Nikola Jokic. I was watching the Denver Nuggets and the Detroit Pistons the other night, and this man was taking the piss. He shot 3 attempts from the field, and he had 16 assists in this game. He was dead set making a mockery of the Pistons. So truth or trash, Nikola Jokic is having too much fun, and it's too easy for him right now.
I think there's a bit of truth in that. You know what it reminds me of, Kane? If you think back to the Larry Bird era, remember those stories we heard about him? I think he was playing against the Portland Trail Blazers, and he just thought, I'm going to have a bit of fun here. I'm going to shoot every shot left-handed.
Yes.
Such as is his brilliance. Jokic right now is to me one of the most entertaining, fun players to watch in the entire competition because he does it so differently. His passing ability and the way in which he shares the ball is off the charts. He can come down, he can beat you with a 3, and like we saw last week against the Golden State Warriors, the bank 3 to win that game. He's on the boards. He plays with a basketball IQ like no other in the competition. And just to see the unselfishness that he plays with is extraordinary. So I think that sometimes now that he's won a title, he gets a little bit bored. He has to make things up in his own head, and he'll go out there and try some different things. And that's just an indication of how great the man is.
Well said. All right, we've got a little bit of time here, and I want to come back to you. Truth or trash? Sometimes friends just have to have a little bit of a blue with each other. DeWatt Reith and Josh Green a couple of nights ago, a little altercation.
Well, I don't think any time you want to see two Aussies going at it, you don't want to see any argy-bargy out there.
Yeah.
But this with DeWatt Reith, what a story he's been. A two-way player with the Portland Trail Blazers, getting an opportunity, starting a lot of games and playing some great basketball. And up against the Dallas Mavericks, we see him here down low. Now, I'm willing to say that was accidental. He was turning around, didn't know it was Josh Green. I'm sure if he knew it was Josh Green, he wouldn't have been waving those elbows around like that, because that is uncalled for, and he copped a heavy price being disqualified for the game. But no, I'm sure that they would have been dapping it up and loving each other after the game.
Gazey, you've been outstanding tonight. Get yourself settled. 36ers and Kings not too far away. But now it's time for the Missed It Play of the Week, presented by Pringles. They taste so good, they may make you miss it again.
To cement themselves in the 6 at least for now. Chris Smith. Time winding down. Oh! Mr. Smith, take him out.
What was the play design coming out of the timeout?
Just go down, get the ball, and then shoot at the last second.
That's simple, and when someone has the skill that you do, it makes a coach look great.
Welcome back to The Jump, presented by Hungry Jacks. This Sunday, the Sydney Kings and Flames will host the Pink Hoops doubleheader at Kudos Bank Arena, raising funds for the McGrath Foundation and breast care nurses in a cause that touches so many. Here's Tiana Mangakahia, who continues to share her courageous journey.
I remember going into that meeting with the oncologist and her explaining that my cancer had spread into other areas and that you shouldn't play anymore. I am Tiana Mangakahia, and I was a former professional basketball player. And I just remember Mum coming home from work and I had the piece of paper in my hand. I was like, no way, like this is happening again. Especially after the season I had just had. And so then I just started crying even more. Being partners with the McGrath Foundation is huge. All the help that I've received from my breast care nurse has been more than I could have imagined. That's why the McGrath Foundation initiative to have 250 breast care nurses by 2025 is so important. And I just hope that people that are going through what I'm going through know that this is accessible for them. They've helped me so much, and I'm just really grateful for that.
Tiana, you're an inspiration, and if you can, support the McGrath Foundation on the weekend. That's going to do it for us tonight. 36ers and the Kings coming right up. Enjoy the weekend's hoops. We'll see you next week.